Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. This essay is called Will Humans Be Necessary? Will automation kill as many jobs as is feared? A widely cited Oxford University study predicts that 47% of jobs could be automated in the next decade or two. Price Waterhouse pegs the US risk at 38%. McKinsey estimates that 45% of what people are paid for now could be automated using existing technology. A new MIT study finds that up to 670,000 jobs in manufacturing alone have been lost to robots in the last 15 years alone, and that they predict the number to quadruple in the next decade alone. No less than Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and Stephen Hawking fear that the loss of jobs will cause world cataclysm. In the coming 2 decades, in what situations will humans still be preferable to a robot? And might that even offer implications for how we should all live today? Let's start with jobs that are likely to be eliminated, starting with the present. Already, don't you prefer an ATM to a teller? Self-checkout to the supermarket checker? Drive-through tolls rather than stop for the toll taker? Automated airline check-in rather than waiting for a clerk? Shopping on Amazon rather than fighting traffic, parking, and the checkout experience with a live clerk, assuming the store has what you want in your size. Indeed, malls are closing, while online retailers led by Amazon are growing. Further killing employment, the costs of hiring a person are increasing. Increased Social Security limits and workers' compensation costs, paid family leave, Obamacare or its replacement, living wage ordinances, and employee lawsuits. All of those make employers more likely to invest in automated solutions. After all, apart from the cost saving, robots never take a day off, never come in late, are competent without training, and machine learning is going to be making robots self-teaching. Robots make fewer errors, they never steal from the employer, they don't go on strike, and they're never annoyed at a coworker, customer, or you. Ever more manufacturing, as I've said earlier, is not, if it's not offshored or inshored to a low-cost state, is being automated. No more Monday morning cars built by workers who are hungover or who come to work under the influence. I know someone who worked at a Ford plant and said that some assembly line workers came in stoned and deliberately misassembled cars because they thought it was funny. Agriculture is ever more automated. Fewer stooping farm workers, more machines to till, plant, water, feed, and harvest. As minimum wage and mandated benefits rise, restaurants especially are accelerating use of, for example, robotic burger flippers and fry cooks, and restaurants are using tablets for you to order your food instead of a waiter. Will you really miss having your conversation interrupted by a waiter hawking hors d'oeuvres and expecting a 15+% tip? Within a decade, we'll likely have autonomous driving trucks, buses, Ubers, and trains that are safer and less rude than human drivers. The autonomous truck driver will never tailgate, cut you off or flip you off, drive recklessly under the influence or not. They will never call in sick, subjecting you to a perhaps less trained substitute driver. But what about professional level employment? Well, millions of people who do their own taxes rely mainly or completely on TurboTax, when in the past they needed an accountant. And even accountants use software to increase accuracy and speed. There's little doubt that such software is going to grow ever more powerful, thereby further reducing the number of accountants needed. Even as far as, say, 2050, we're going to still need doctors and nurses, but the speed and accuracy of computer-assisted diagnosis and treatment will reduce the number needed. Same is true of lawyers. Human nuance is required, whether in drafting a contract or appearing in court, but fewer attorneys will be needed. Already, considerable legal work, for example, discovery, is done by computer. But what about those millions of other jobs that require human judgment? For example, the people that review medical or social security claims, or the marketing people who decide which approaches to use. Yeah, people will always be needed to resolve disputed decisions made by computer. But that's only a fraction of the people currently working in those fields. But what about the arts? Well, there already is computer-generated fine painting. There already is computer-generated classical music, and even computer-generated journalism. Those do have a minor limitation. At least until those self-teaching computers advance enough, computers will only be able to reproduce versions of what human programmers program in. So the creative jobs will mainly be for those rare birds who can create a cutting edge that's not only different, but superior to, or at least more popular with customers than our computers' creations. But what about romance? Is the premise of the movie Her permanently science fiction, in which a person prefers a computerized lover not just because he or she is great in bed, but is a better listener and always eager to please? At a recent London University conference on sex robots, many people already would prefer to have sex with a humanoid. Robot lovers are also being touted as useful, with people having difficulty finding a partner, the disabled, and sex therapy patients. In addition, robots can be a remedy for the binary assumption that we're man or woman, homosexual or heterosexual. Robots can be pansexual. Many people have bad experiences with other people, even with family members. More than a few people have told me they prefer their dog to people. Then there's road rage, or the boss or coworker you can't stand. As technology creates an alternative to ever more of what humans do, could it be that all but the most desirable people will be ever more ostracized, even attacked? Even wilder, might people program computers to kill quote-unquote undesirables? What about the remaining jobs? In such a world, how can a human justify his or her existence? Well, certainly we'll need some brilliant people to develop technology, plus some hands-on types to maintain them. We'll need caretakers, companions, home health aides, even dog sitters, to provide warmth that even an infinitely patient robot can't provide. We'll need fiction writers, mainly for the immersive interactive environments that most apartments will have. All four walls, floor, and ceiling can be screens. We'll need athletes and perhaps performers. Many people crave idols, and an animated character won't quite cut it. As today, most people will do creative and athletic activities for love, but alas, not for money. And as I mentioned, we'll need human judges to appeal computer decisions, and in our courts. We'll need micro-entrepreneurs, small-scale entrepreneurs, to create simple small businesses to meet local needs that can't be met by computer. For example, handy persons, tutors, and personal chefs for people with special dietary needs. And yes, we will need counselors and psychotherapists. While artificial intelligence-based therapy is under development, the level of nuance in the excellent counselor will likely be refractory to computerization. And we will need a guaranteed basic income paid by the Googles and Amazons of the world. Although even they probably won't have enough money to provide the literally billions of people with an even tolerable standard of living, including housing, transportation, and healthcare, and food. We can only hope that technology's cost savings will sufficiently lower the cost of living. Certainly, most people will have to learn to live a less materialistic lifestyle and derive pleasure primarily from being productive, from their creative outlets, and from their relationships. In the personal sphere, for us to compete with robots, we may all have to up our game. Hotheads and whiners and so on, they better beware. So it might not be a bad idea, but a bad time for us to start working on ourselves while we still have the chance. Let's talk just a bit. I want to conclude with talking about a couple of possible futures. An optimistic scenario is that job loss will not be as great as the above statistics predict. Indeed, a study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, projects only a 9% job loss in the next 2 decades. And that job loss will be more than compensated for by automation so lowering the cost of living that even if we earn little income, we'll be okay. And it's even possible that we can embed a computer chip in our brains that will enable us to accomplish more of what we want, or at least feel better about what we have. A pessimistic scenario is that there won't be enough well-paying jobs nor money from successful corporations to provide everyone with even basic housing, food, transportation, and healthcare. That would cause greatly increasing crime and civil unrest. The truth will probably be somewhere in between, or a future we can't even yet conceive of. After all, it has been said that he who lives by the crystal ball eats broken glass. I'm Marty Nemko.